All right, fire 'em up!
Neo-soul music took a beating this week. Lost 3 artists from the genre. But the music goes on, and so do we. This is the Tweakable Podcast. What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Alexander, the voice in the void, the lone wolf, your favorite host with a list. Welcome to the Tweakable Podcast. I am doing well. I hope you are doing well. I'm so happy you decided to hang out with me. If this is your first time, trust me, there are plenty of episodes you can go back and watch and entertain yourself. And if you've been rocking with us for a while, thank you very much. You did not have to, but decided to tune into this pokey little podcast and hang with me, and I truly appreciate it. Hey, we got a lot of stuff to get through today. I mean, not a ton, but it's some stuff we're going to have to talk about. We're going to talk about what I actually think of Captain America: Brave New World. I know it took me so long to get around to talking to you about this, but I'm gonna try to get through it today without being biased, and that's kind of been the problem, but we'll talk about it today. I'm gonna tell you why I can't stand the Oscars any more than I used to. I never liked them in the first place, award shows in general, but I really don't like them now, especially with what happened in the in memoriam section. If you don't know, I'm gonna let you know about that, but we got a lot of stuff outside of that to get through. But first up, let's get through the news. We start the news off today by saying rest in peace to George Lowe, Dwayne Wiggins, Angie Stone, and Roy Ayers. Now, if you don't know the name George Lowe, I'm hoping you may know the voice. Now, outside of being a comedian and a writer in Hollywood for quite a long time, he was also a voice actor. And his most famous voice acting is when he did the voice of Space Ghost on shows like Space Ghost and Space Ghost Coast to Coast. If you are a devotee to Adult Swim, then you obviously know that voice. We've heard it for so very long. Like I said, he wrote and was a comedian in Hollywood for so long. He's a really good writer too, doing a lot of the writing, and if not most of the writing on the shows on Adult Swim whenever he did voice work. Dwayne Wiggins, if you don't know the name, again, you're going to know the voice, especially if you know anything about soul or neo-soul music. He was 1/3 and a founding member of the group Tony from the Bay Area. He passed back on March 7th, and their most famous songs are Feels Good, It Never Rains in Sunny Southern California, and of course Anniversary. And through the 90s, that group laid out so many tracks that are just staples to the genre of neo-soul. He passed after a battle with bladder cancer. Cancer sucks no matter where it comes from, and we need to do something about it and find some way of curtailing how many people pass away from that type of disease. Angie Stone, again, neo-soul and soul songstress, classic voice. She passed back on March 1st. She died in a car crash when her Sprinter van and a semi-truck collided, and she was the only person from the last report I got that passed from the accident. She's known for songs like Brother and I Wish I Didn't Miss You, 2 songs that I play regularly. Both of them are just absolutely fantastic songs. Before she passed away, I want to say back in December, maybe November, she took to social media to say that her record label, Universal Music Group, was stealing royalties from her, and the fact that she did that and then she winds up dying in this crash, and the only person to pass from this crash, it has ignited a gigantic firestorm of conspiracies that they took her out to keep her from speaking. And honestly, in my opinion, there might be something to it, because if you haven't noticed, a lot of music artists over the past couple of years have started speaking out about their record companies taking money from them, and they all wind up dying in mysterious accidents. And I'm not just talking about songstresses and singers. I mean like rappers and group members. It just seems to be happening a hell of a lot more often. So just keep an eye on it. When I learn anything more from that accident, I'll let you know. And what can you say about Roy Ayers? When it comes to soul music, and more particularly neo-soul music, he is the godfather of neo-soul. Everybody who has ever worked with this man says so, and believe me, he truly is that. He is that guy. He passed back on March 4th. He passed after a long illness, which they haven't exactly given us the details on it. Everybody who is alive knows this one song by him called Everybody Loves the Sunshine. If you don't know the song right off the top of your head just by the title, guarantee go cut it on, play it on whatever platform you like to play music on, and I guarantee you as soon as it plays, you're going to know that song. He is absolutely one of the most prolific artists when it comes to playing the vibraphone, which was his main instrument. When it comes to jazz bop, acid jazz, soul, neo soul, the man inspired a completely he inspired a huge generation of artists like Erykah Badu and Angie Stone, Tony. People who come after him are everybody who says it. Even Pharrell, the producer from the Neptunes, even he says that his sound when he's making music, he takes from Roy Ayers. Just a fantastic artist, and it's so sad to see him go. Roy Ayers was 85. Angie Stone was, I want to say she was 39. She might be a little older than that. Dwayne Wiggins was 64, and George Lowe was 67 years old. I misspoke in that last segment. Angie Stone was 63 years old. I was thinking of something else, but forgive me. Don't charge it to my heart. But at the box office, number one film over the past week is still Captain America: Brave New World. That's 3 weeks in a row, and it has shot past all estimates of what it was going to do. It has moved past the original Hulk, the one with Eric Bana, and it has moved past Eternals at the box office. This year looks like it's going to be a down year, regardless of what film comes out, unless we have something that skyrockets, like Inside Out 2 last year. But for the movie that it is, and for the money that it has made, Captain America: Brave New World is a success. I don't care what anybody has to say, and we're going to talk about it, so make sure you stay with the program all the way through. Number two over the past week, Last Breath. Now, this was its debut week. I haven't gone to see it yet. I'm supposed to go see it. It's only earned $10 million at the box office, but I got a feeling going into this weekend that we're in now, it's going to gain some traction. From what I've heard thus far, it is a really good movie. As soon as I see it, I am going to talk about it, because I really do want to see it. It's starring Woody Harrelson and a bunch of other people, and it sounds like a great film. Coming in number 3, The Monkey falls from number 2 to number 3. So far, $40 million. All those numbers are worldwide. All three films look like they're really good. Captain America is good. I've seen it. I do want to see Last Breath. Monkey, I'm still on the fence about whether I want to see it or not. There's not really any movies I want to see this weekend that are debuting, so I guess I'm going to sneak out and go see Last Breath, and we will be talking about it as soon as I see it. Marvel has a problem, and they've actually had this problem for pretty much since the inception of the MCU. Now, over the past week, starting last weekend, there have been multiple leaks of concept art and images that have been used to help shoot movies coming up. Specifically, Fantastic Four and Avengers Doomsday. A lot of the images are just they spoil so much about what's supposed to be in these films coming up. I don't want to tell you, because I am not the person to spoil anything. They're obviously out there online if you want to see them. I do actually have them posted on Instagram if you do want to see them, so go over to the page. There's a blank page just letting you know spoilers coming up, so it's not just out there and just spoiling it right off the way. You do have time to back out and not look at the post at all. One of those things which I really not going to say too much about, but if the images are to be believed, if those leaked images are 100% correct about what's coming up in the Fantastic Four movie specifically, then that lets me know one of the theories that I had is going to come true, and it does involve a baby. If you saw a couple of episodes ago when I gave you my thoughts on that first Fantastic Four teaser trailer, and I gave you my theories about what's coming up, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, then go watch that episode and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. If you are a fan of the series Andor, and I know you're happy because we have a new trailer. So we just had a new trailer drop. It still has Diego Luna returning as Cassian Andor. This next season, season 2, it will cover the 4 years full of events leading up to the events of the film Rogue One. And to me, Rogue One is the absolute best of all of the Disney era of Star Wars. That film is fantastic. It was a 10 out of 10 the first time I saw it, and it still holds up. I've watched it a dozen times ever since it came out at home, and I went and saw it in theaters 3 times. Rogue One is great. So all of these events are going to in season 2 are going to lead up to Rogue One. Each year within the series, so it's 4 years. Each year will have a trifecta of episodes that covers that specific year. So it looks like it's going to be 12 episodes. So it's year 1 within the series. Within this next season, it's going to have 3 episodes. Year 2, 3 episodes, and so on. So by the time you go through these 4 years of events, at the end of this second season, you're going to wind up with 3 episodes per each of those years. So it looks like it's going to be 12 episodes. 4 times 3 is 12. Basic math, people. Let's be for real. Andor season 2 is going to debut on Disney Plus in April 22nd, to be specific. So I can't wait for it, and I hope everybody is going to tune in to watch this one and not let it down the same way they did the last few Star Wars properties that Disney has given us. If you're an anime fan and you have Netflix, then you might as well rejoice. The anime Don to Don hit number 1 in the top 10 listing for Netflix in a bunch of countries. I think the highest it's gotten in the United States is number 2, but it may have hit number 1. I'm gonna have to double check before the day is over. And Don to Don, if you want a second season, it was just announced that it is going to get a second season. It will return in July this year, so we don't have to wait until 2026 like a lot of people were speculating, and that's really good because a lot of anime will stop and say, oh well, we're doing new episodes and we'll get it to you as fast as possible, and then a year and a half, almost 2 years goes by, and then it loses all of its steam. But we're going to get the next season of it, or the next part of it I should say, in July, which is really good. I can't wait to see it. It was one of my absolute favorite anime last year when it debuted. It will simulcast on Netflix and Crunchyroll at the same time, so regardless of which platform you're going to watch the anime on, it'll be there waiting for you, and that's good news. And this comes on the heel of Netflix saying that, number one, they're going to throw a ton of money, $18 billion to put a number on it, $18 billion in 2025 alone on new content, and a lot of that is going toward anime and animation in general. That is nuts. That is a big number. Of that 18 million, just for my own mind, I'm thinking they're going to probably throw about half of that at anime and animation, considering that is a huge untapped market still in the United States and around the world. So to throw that amount of money behind it, they must really and truly believe in that genre. And honestly, I think they're going to throw that amount because, number two, they've announced that they make more money off of anime than Crunchyroll. That is absolutely insane. In a time when so many of these platforms are making money, they're making more money off of anime than the site that was created specifically to show outside of Japan audiences anime. So if that's the case, I could see in the future Netflix, unfortunately, buying Crunchyroll. I don't know how that's going to go over with the anime community. I don't like it, but let's be for real. Money talks, and if somebody writes a big enough check, that check will be cashed. Again, I think everybody forgot, but maybe I'm the only one reporting on it and keeping an eye on it. The SAG-AFTRA video game voice actor strike is still going on now, 225 days. There's still no movement, no talks, nothing going on. The last thing I read was that they were picketing outside of multiple video game publishers simultaneously over the past week. I have a correction for what I've been talking about with this. It's not just video game actors, if you thought so. It's not. It's also the motion capture artists, the people who dress up and dance as your favorite characters and move around for you to control. They're also on strike with the voice actors. So all of them together are within this strike. So just keep that in mind going forward when we talk about it. Like I said, there have been no talks, no movements whatsoever. And whenever I get any type of update, I'll let you know as soon as possible, because we do really need to keep an eye on this, because like I said in the last update on this one specific topic, very soon you're going to have a lot of video games, just like I said last week, that are going to be indefinitely shelved because they don't have voice actors and they can't use AI. So there's no telling how long this is going to last. But like I said, as soon as I get news, I'll let you know. So it's saying that David Zaslav is angry at Joker 2 Folie à Deux. Well, not specifically the movie itself, but how it performed and at the people who put it together. So David Zaslav is basically railing against the director and the producers of the film because Joker Folie à Deux did not even come close to doing the type of numbers that the first film did. Now, the first film coasted out to $1 billion. Well, the star of it, Joaquin Phoenix, got several awards, including winning an Oscar for Best Actor, if I'm not mistaken, and a bunch of other awards along the road going up to the Oscars. Not that I care about those awards, and I told you we're going to talk about that later. But the second film hit not just a stumbling block because of the story it told, but the numbers at the box office. The film well underperformed compared to the first one, and the fact that it was partly a musical, that basically turned off probably 90% of the audience that would have gone to see it. And in that, it seems that David Zaslav has turned his anger toward Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, the two people who lead that division that had put the movie together and gave up the money to get it done. So I don't know what David Zaslav thought. The fact that they did a part 2 was a surprise, because even though the first film did $1 billion, it didn't need a part 2. Even with the money it made, it didn't warrant a part 2, and still you signed off on them doing a part 2. and David Zaslav signed off on the script. He saw the dailies, which is what they do every single day and send up to the head guys for them to watch. You saw everything that they were doing along the road. You read the script. You signed off on the money. You signed off on everything before this movie got released. And even in the previews, everybody was saying, this ain't gonna be it. And you still got behind the movie and said, no, it's going to be a hit. And it turned out to be trash. And you're surprised? I said it when he was hired, maybe a few months after he was hired, when he got rid of Batgirl. David Zaslav is way in over his head, and he shouldn't be running WB. And hopefully everybody will figure that out. He'll get fired, and we can get somebody in and let them do what they're supposed to do. And hopefully maybe when that new person comes in, we can actually get Batgirl along with that Wile E. Coyote film we were supposed to get. So we're going to end our news today by talking about Resident Evil. Not the video game, but the film coming out in 2026. Did you even know that there was a film coming out in 2026? Well, I did. I thought everybody did. Maybe I didn't bring it up enough. But yes, in January 2026, we will be getting a new Resident Evil film, simply titled Resident Evil. It's going to star, of all people, Josh Brolin and Julia Garner. I don't know how they're going to fit into the roles that I think that they're playing, but we'll wait and see. They can't really do any worse than the old Resident Evil movies, which I truly enjoyed, but they weren't exactly like the video games. But like I said, I still enjoyed them, but maybe this one will stick closer to the video games and I'll enjoy it as well. We shall see. The animated features that they've had on over the few years and live action series that they've had on Netflix, I thought those were okay. I didn't think they were great. I just thought they were okay, but let's just see what this film does. It's being it's being directed by Roger Kreger. He says it's going to be more horror than anything else, which is good because it's a horror-based video game. It should be more horror. So him saying that, it kind of gives me bad feeling off the bat. But like I said, we'll wait and see it and we'll judge it then. It's also going to be produced by Sony Pictures, and I forgot the name of the production company that's co-doing it, but the other company whose name I'm forgetting right now. I don't have it in my notes, but they are going to. They have done a lot of films similar to the Resident Evil franchise. So I think this is going to be a good marriage. I think this is actually going to be a pretty good film. I like Josh Brolin. I like Julia Gardner, both very good actors. Kreger is a very good director. Sony, they have problems with a lot of other films, but they kind of do certain films well, and I think this is right in their wheelhouse for it to be good. So let's cross our fingers, wait till January 2026, and when the film comes out, believe me, I'll be there, and we'll talk about it right here. So that's all the news for now. Don't forget to check our Instagram page for things pertaining to the podcast and all the other little things I like to post just for here and there, just for shits and giggles and for information and entertainment for you all. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what happened at the Oscars and why I'm more pissed off at them than I have ever been before. You know, truth be told, I do not like watching the Oscars. I don't. Oscars fit into that category of award shows, and I don't like watching any of them. I think it's all just a bunch of pomp and circumstance and a lot of just glad handing unnecessarily. It's not my thing. I don't hate on anybody that wants to see them. If they want to, have at it. It's not my thing, like I said, but if you want to, do it. But one thing that I have said for the longest about why I don't like watching the Oscars specifically is because there is a underlining hatred, almost, you can say, for action films and comedies and animation and anything black led a lot of times, and horror. Now, why do I bring that up? Because in the last Oscar show, when they did the In Memoriam, there was a specific name left off of that list. And I didn't know because I didn't watch it, and then somebody brought it up to me. And it bothered me to my core. The name that was left off of that list was Tony Todd. Tony Todd, for my entire adult life, has been in one property or another. Action films, dramas, mostly horror, voiceovers for a few DC properties that I can think of off the top of my head, Justice League Dark and Justice League Apocalypse. He's done pretty much everything you can do in Hollywood, and he's never really gotten his due except among the fans. Whether he won an award or anything is beyond the point. The man the man was a legend. Anybody who knows movies, if you said Tony Todd to them, they can think of at least one role he was in that they absolutely loved. And to leave him off the in memoriam section is a slap in the face, not just to him directly, but to fans of his for anything he's done, and specifically for fans of horror. The horror film genre is the one genre I can absolutely point my finger at and said that it propped up Hollywood for decades. Classical horror films like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Birds, pretty much anything by Alfred Hitchcock, like Psycho, The Shining, Stanley Kubrick. Then you come forward to the film that we just had, Nosferatu, and going back to 1922 with the original Nosferatu, Lost Boys. You can keep naming horror films that for years has propped up Hollywood and has given so much enjoyment to people across the world. And they left off one of its most prolific actors in their in memoriam section. And they left it off simply because what? He's never been in some major blockbuster in one of their little hoity-toity drama films. Maybe it was because it was a black guy. Just the fact that they left him off bothers me. I did not like the Oscars before, and now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I hate them to my core. I didn't watch them before, but I would usually keep up with them and occasionally talk about them with my friends and occasionally on the podcast because I know so many people actually do follow them. But I promise you, from this day forward, until they make this right, which they probably never will, you will never hear me speak about somebody winning an Oscar, this happened at the Oscar, or this person is an Oscar-winning performer. I will never take that into consideration again until they make it right. And like I said, I don't think they ever will. Leaving Tony Todd off the in memoriam section was not an accident. I guarantee you that was an absolute direct call for somebody to say, hey, we don't want to put every name on there because it would take too long. Who can we leave off? And they left him off. And they shouldn't have. So, from the bottom of my heart to everybody at the Oscars, fuck you. I've danced around this for a few weeks and I've tried very hard to write this and present it to you. Captain America Brave New World puts me in a sort of weird spot when it comes to movie reviews. I absolutely enjoyed the movie, but at the same time, that movie wasn't as good as I thought it should have been, or could have been. I sat and watched Captain America Brave New World the first time, and I was totally thrilled. I went in the first time watching it just as a fan. I wasn't trying to review it. I wasn't digging into the narrative or anything like that. I just went in, eyes open, and said, entertain me. Keep me entertained for a couple of hours, take me out of my head, and take me into that world. And that's exactly what I got, which is why I said this is a really good movie. But then I watched it a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, all in theater. And I started digging into it. I started looking at it with a very critical eye. And I saw so many holes that made me say, this movie is falling apart at my feet. And that started to make me upset. So when I wrote the review the first time, that I was going to give literally the weekend after the movie debuted, I realized that I was leaning well too far to one direction. I won't tell you which. And then I said, let me rewrite it. I'll present this next week. I rewrote it, and I realized I was leaning well too far to the other side. And then I stopped. And then I had to ask myself one simple question. Why is it so hard for me to look at this film and give an honest opinion without being overly biased one way or another? And then it dawned on me. It seriously just dawned on me a few days ago. I can't be completely honest with Captain America Brave New World because the movie is not about what it should be about. Yeah, go watch the movie. You're going to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, you probably don't enjoy Marvel movies anymore. It is a good movie. It's a really good Captain America movie. In my estimation, it's the second best Captain America movie we've had. I didn't really care for the last two. I love the first one. The other two were okay. Captain America Brave New World tells us the story of President Ross trying to bring in the Captain America, get him on his side, restart the New Avengers, and to solve the mystery of adamantium being brought into the world by that gigantic celestial now sticking out of the ocean. Yeah, we finally got around to talking about that, which I told you they were going to. You just had to be patient. And that's pretty much what the story is about, right? It's political intrigue. It is very much a spiritual successor to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is absolutely fine. A little bit more Bucky, but, absolutely fine nonetheless. That's why it's a good movie, because I enjoyed it as much, if not more, than watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I absolutely loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which that's why I like this movie a little bit more. I love the actors in it. I thought they should have used Giancarlo Esposito a little bit more. I really wanted to see the leader be presented a little bit better, but still, everything in the movie was good. But again, this movie is not about what it should have been about. Should all of those things been in the film? Yes, we should have had everything we had in those films. Except I think we should have leaned more into the racial and the background of Isaiah Bradley. The racial aspect and the background of Isaiah Bradley. See, at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you had the big speech by Sam Wilson about, I know exactly what it means to be a black man wearing this uniform and being Captain America. It's right out of the comic book. Going into this film, considering how closely tied it is to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this film should have leaned more into that. We saw Isaiah Bradley for the first time in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And now he shows up here, and he's basically a super soldier, and we don't know why. They should have leaned into the fact that Isaiah Bradley, in the comic book, in canon, is the actual first Captain America, not Steve Rogers. Isaiah Bradley was unwillingly experimented on so they can figure out how to use the super soldier serum. And the fact that it didn't kill him is what led them to knowing that, hey, this is how the serum works. And they couldn't get it back from him. Remember in the first film when Steve Rogers, decides to take off and rescue all those soldiers from the Nazi camp? Yeah, in the comics, that was actually Isaiah Bradley. That wasn't Steve. Yeah, so now you maybe understand where I'm going. He even said it. I broke those boys out of prison, and what did I get for it? This. And he pointed to himself about how his life was so hard because they pretty much kept him under lock and key and didn't allow him to have a life because they weren't going to let their precious experiment so far out of their grasp. That's the story that should have been told in this. That should have spurred Sam on to be a better Captain America and to fulfill the mission that he ultimately fulfilled in this film. It should have been more with Isaiah Bradley. And honestly, in my opinion, if he breaks Isaiah Bradley out of prison, takes him along with the new Falcon, and they together solve this mystery, and along the way you tell that story, I think this becomes a much better movie. At 2 hours, it's not the longest of the MCU films. It's not the shortest. But I do believe that this film was well too short. This is a very big film that should have been about 2.5 hours long, maybe even 2 hours and 45 minutes. I know that's saying a lot because I doubt very seriously that so many people would have lined up for the new Captain America to watch a 2 hour and 45 minute, 2.5 hour movie. But I would have. And I would have appreciated more this film if they would have leaned more into that aspect of where Isaiah Bradley came from, who he was, why he's so important to the Captain America mythos. But we didn't get that. We got a movie that was safe. And I was sort of expecting a safe movie, but this was well too safe. A lot of the MC movies early on went directly at topics and they didn't toe the line. They went over it. They talked about things that a lot of people didn't want to talk about. Black Panther is one of those such films. They talked about colonialism. They even went so far as calling most of the white characters colonizers. That's the type of film this should have been. It should have went directly at the political intrigue, directly at the racist undertones and the racism surrounding Captain America. And they should not have toed the line and stepped to it and backed off. They should have went clear over it. This film let me down, even though I enjoyed it, which is why it's so hard for me to talk about it until now, because I did not understand why I felt the way I did. I really do like Captain America Brave New World. It's a 7 out of 10. And I would recommend everybody go see it. It is a fun movie, a good time at the theater, which is what I advocate, not just sitting at home watching everything on streaming. But for everybody who says that the movie wasn't all that great, I completely understand. Especially for people who look like me. There's so much to Sam Wilson, so much more to Sam Wilson, and a hell of a lot more to the Captain America name than just what we got in this film. Is it a good movie? Yes. Good MCU movie? Yes. Good Captain America movie? That's kind of where it falls apart. Sam Wilson is so much more when he's wearing that uniform and carrying the shield. Believe me, if you don't read comic books, you should, because you would see so many better stories than what was told in this film. And you will ask yourself, well, why the hell didn't we get that? And I think that's the problem with the film with me. I still say you should go see it. I still say it's a good movie, but Disney really let me down because they didn't give me everything I should have gotten. So that's it, and that's all. It's time for the last call. I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in. You did not have to tune into this Pokey Little podcast, but you did, and I truly appreciate it. I don't care if it's 1, 5, 10, 100, or 1,000 of you. I am so happy that every single one of you decided to tune in and watch me do this. I enjoy doing it, and I'm so glad you decided to watch because I'm pretty sure you enjoyed watching me do it. And before anybody hops into the comments and try to dispute anything I said about Captain America and ask me, am I even a Captain America fan? I don't have this because I'm not a Captain America fan. And this is just one of the Captain America toys I got. And believe me, I have a hell of a lot more than this. And yes, I do have some Steve Rogers things too. I need to get some Isaiah Bradley stuff. Hopefully they make some, and I'm going to add that to my collection as well. Before we get up out of here, I want to tell you all, we got some good news. On the cosplay front, we are going to start debuting a lot of it. Not next week, but week after next. I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint as to what the first cosplay I'm going to do is. And I want to see if anybody can guess which one I'm doing. These are goggles. Yes, I'm pretty sure you can tell that. But I'm not going to tell you who they're for. These are just goggles I have had from another cosplay, but I'm going to use them and incorporate them in the new one that I'm going to do. Goggles. That's pretty much all I'm going to give you for right now. If you don't guess by week after next, don't worry. I'm going to tell you the first one I'm going to do. It's going to come out of way out of left field. And next week's show, I'm going to give you another hint. But that's it, and that's all. It's time for us to go. Like I said, thank you very much for tuning in. And always remember that you're never alone. If you need somebody to talk to, dial or text 988. There's always somebody there to talk to. This week's weekend watch list, I don't have one. Just watch whatever you want to watch. I am going to try my absolute best to finish Daredevil. I only watched one of the 2 episodes. Yeah, Daredevil debuted with 2 episodes just this past Tuesday, I want to believe. It might have been Monday, but either way, I watched the first episode. That first episode was fantastic. I'm gonna watch the second one over again, I should say. I watched it, but I was dozing off because I got home late from work and I didn't finish it. So I'm actually gonna run it back and watch both episodes, and I'm gonna watch the new episode. And once that 3rd episode is over, then we're gonna start talking about the series in general. That first episode was absolutely fantastic too. So if you haven't started watching it, make sure you start watching it. And again, Reacher. I'm done with Reacher. Absolutely fantastic season. We will be talking about it either next week or maybe sometime the middle of the week coming up this week. We're going to talk about Reacher because this 3rd season was not like the other 2. But it was still really damn good, but we'll talk about it later. So it's time for us to go. So for my producer, Nikki Reb, who's standing over there eyeballing me, telling me to wrap it up, I'm going to say to you the same thing we say at the end of every episode. God bless, I love you, and peace. See you next time.